Hey guys, my name is Loveless, and this time we're back with I'll Come Back to You. And it's going to be chapter 3, so let's get straight into it. It's taking all of Zane's willpower not to break down. He's a professional, always has been. Calm, cool, and collected is his signature. Sometimes mistaken for uncaring and rude, but always born from kindness. Always selfless. Always the rock that others can lean on for strength. But as he lifts you from where your injured body lays limp against the wall, taking great care not to disturb your extensive injuries, he finds it increasingly difficult to keep himself together. To not dwell on how freezing you feel in his steady hands. Xavier teleports them to the hospital. Zane isn't fazed by the brief dizziness or the fact that the hunter collapsed on the floor beside him. He pays little mind to the gasps and panicked looks around him as he barks instructions to his colleagues, his voice cutting through the air as if Xavier's blade had cleaved through the Wanderer's. Severe hemorrhaging. Red blood cell transfusion required. Severe organ and tissue damage. Missing rib. Missing rib? One of the nurses repeats, a mix of disbelief and alarm in her eyes. How? It doesn't matter how, Zane bellowed, his voice booming through the sterile halls like an avalanche. Do as I say, exactly as I say it, or she will die. The hospital goes silent. It's the first time Dr. Zane has ever raised his voice at staff. The first time he has ever shown signs of losing his composure. His hands trembled on the bed as he gently deposits you in, holding on to the cold metal as he wheels you through to the operating room at speed that forces the doctors and nurses around him to trot to keep up with him. Doctor, her heart rate, it's not... I need a team of surgeons now, only the most capable, Zane interrupts, only leaving your bedside to pull on gloves and overalls, not even bothering to change out of his shirt that sticks to his chest with blood that soaked it. Your blood. His body and mind worked overtime as he and his team of excellent surgeons worked in harmony, all with the singular goal of saving your life. You required seamlessly endless blood transfusion, the damage from the attack extensive, and you have been unconscious for so long that they forced to induce you into a coma. He refused to leave, even as the sun starts to rise and his eyes are reddened and bloodshot from barely blinking. It feels like every moment he's checking your pulse that flutters beneath his skin like a moth's wing, just to check that you're still with him. You are, but barely. If not for the machines keeping you here, you wouldn't stand a chance. If not for the technology forcing your brain to stay alive, forcing your heart to keep bleeding, you would have died hours ago. Doctor? One of his colleagues say, her eyes soft behind the visor mask she wears. She's stable now. You should rest. Go back to your office. We can look after her for a few hours. Stable. Not fine. Not recovering. Stable. He leaves. Not because he wants to, but because he can't bear to see your unresponsive face any longer. He can't look at you without regret churning his gut, because you wouldn't have been at the park if it wasn't for him. Zane had intended to take you to lunch for your birthday. Even the busy man, you were surprised when he mentioned it a week prior. He promised that your lunch breaks would align and wanted to take you to a new dessert place close to the hospital so you can share some cake. But like always, something had come up. He had messaged just as you were leaving for a rain check, and you had been understanding, so much that when he left his office at 7 p.m., you were waiting outside for him with a grin on your face. Why are you here? Zane's puzzled question only to make you smile wider. I went to the dessert place. I brought you this, you said, and thrust a paper cup filled with hot chocolate into his gloved hands. But I may have eaten the cake already. He chuckled softly at the flush in your cheeks. Well, that just means we'll have to go there together some other time. The way you beam up at him makes his heart stutter. The way you beam up at him makes his heart stutter in his chest. Let me walk you home, he murmurs as he offers his arm to you. You take in it happily. Your steps synchronize as he leads you through the streets. You pause before getting to the park, narrowing your eyes at him. Don't you drive to work? Isn't this going to ruin your evening? He shook his head, a sudden sincerity in his eyes. Spending time with my favorite patient would never ruin my evening. He lifts the hot chocolate to your mouth for you to take a sip, especially when it's her birthday. You laugh brightly, your cheeks pressed to his bicep, in a fond gesture as his eyes drifted over the fairy lights that illuminated the branches of the park trees. Look, they're like 1,000 tiny fireflies. Zane had a feeling he was being watched. The suspicion was confirmed when he met lightning eyes staring right back at him. Cold, angry, dangerous. Blue, though they reminded him of violet ones from his childhood. Ones that darkened every time Zane got too close to you. He recognized the man from a photo you showed him months ago. The pair of you wearing hunter uniforms, grinning at the camera with boba tea in your hands. Xavier. Zane didn't have time to alert you to the hunter's presence before you already spotted him, or before the alarm on your wrist had blared loudly, signaling the imminent wanderer attack. He had understand your wordless look to him immediately. Help the civilians. Let's deal with the wanderers. Which was easy enough, until he heard your scream. Until he saw your body on the floor, a hole where your ribs should be. He didn't know when the others turned up. He didn't care. All that mattered was your cold skin in his hands as he tried to encourage you to live. Just live. Please, live. He found himself repeating over and over in his mind as minutes stretched to hours as he finally walked back to his office, pausing when he sees the ashy-haired hunter sitting in one of his armchairs. Xavier looked exhausted, like he hasn't slept in the whole 10 hours that Zane had been in the operating room, which is unlike him. Not that Zane knew that. How is she? What is this? They speak at the same time. Xavier obviously asking after you, and Zane's query on the food and the very cold coffee on his desk. Xavier answered first. I thought you might need something to... He scowled, unsure how to care for a man and he feels irrationally angry for. I didn't realize how long it would be. Zane stared down at the sandwich, turning it in his hands and slowly opening it. The logical part of his brain encouraged him to look after himself. You need energy. You cannot care for her if you're hungry and tired. Thank you, he curtly says, even though the food is slightly warm and the coffee tastes bitter. He has them without complaint. Only when he sits, removing his glasses and rubbing the bridge of his nose, does he answer the first question. She is stable, he says, but his words don't bring Xavier comfort, not when he sounds hollow saying them. She had extensive blood loss and was unconscious for a while, so we had to put her into a coma. He takes a deep, calming breath, usually steady fingers trembling as he rubbed his eyes, ridding himself of the tears that build up under his exhausted eyelids. I don't know if... Don't. Xavier's voice is as sharp as a blade when Zane looks at him. That severity is reflected in his eyes. Don't give up on her. Zane's jaw clutches. I'm not giving up on her. It's not like he could if he wanted to. Protecting her was his sole purpose, his reason for existing. He would sacrifice himself, then abandon her. Good. The hunter's word wavered with emotions he clearly trying to push down. Good. Then she'll be fine, because you'll make sure she is. It's admirable, Zane thinks, how he's trying to reassure both of them, manifesting your recovery as though the stars he came from will grant him one wish. Or maybe it's delusion. He sees you and Xavier. His strength mirrors yours. You are unrelenting, refusing to believe in what you don't want. Ever the optimist in situations, Xavier appears to be the same. Or maybe he simply refuses to believe you could slip through their gas at any moment. It's clear as day that he's struggling. Zane could see the tiredness in the hunter's entire body, and the doubt of those crystalline eyes, and the way his fingers twitch with the need to stab something to release his emotions. Despite his similarities to you, Zane wants to be alone. He wants to tell the hunter to leave his office, to go back to his life, to let him wallow in self-pity and remorse so he can refocus his mind, and maybe lose himself in the process. But you had used your last breath to plead with them, to ask them for one more thing. Look after each other. Don't be alone. How his lungs burn when he remembered your dimming eyes pleading with him, something raw and frightening deep within. How his heart breaks when he remembers how fragile your voice sounded as you asked them to keep going when you could not. How it shatters even more when he let himself cry. Hunter's hands that aren't yours close over him to ground him, despite how Xavier quietly weeps himself. Oh my god, it's so sad. Also, this thing was actually harder a little bit than I expected.